Let's jump straight into this explainer. Have you ever stared at your payslip and wondered how on earth the HR department actually came up with those numbers? Well, you're absolutely in the right place. Today, we're cracking open the complex, Excel-driven world of corporate compensation in Pakistan. We're using Engro Corporation as our real-world proxy to decode the entire system, from your basic cash right down to stock options.
It's a question I seriously love asking. Do you know what you really cost your company? Most of us just glance at the very tip of the compensation iceberg. You know, that net take-home pay hitting our bank account. But today, we're peeling back the layers. Underneath the guaranteed cash you see is this massive, sprawling web of statutory requirements, taxes, hidden benefits, and variable pay.
Brace yourself because this number perfectly illustrates our first real shocker. A standard corporate employer in Pakistan pays a staggering 43% benefits loading right on top of your basic salary. No way, right? That means if your basic pay is 1 million rupees, your actual cost to the business is closer to 1.43 million. So where exactly is all that extra cash going?
Here is our roadmap to figure that out. First, we'll look at the anatomy of a salary. Second, the 2025 tax shakeup. Third, decoding the hidden paycheck. Fourth, unlocking bonuses and equity. And finally, a much-needed market reality check. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The anatomy of a salary. The cash you see. Let's start with the visible foundation of your pay. This is the basic salary and standard cash allowances you negotiate during a job interview, the money that actually hits your account every month.
Your basic pay is heavily subsidized by standard market allowances. The sheer size of the house rent allowance is wild. A massive 56% chunk is dedicated strictly to rent, which totally makes sense if you're working in a major hub like Karachi, Lahore, or Islamabad. Then you've got conveyance, medical, and utility allowances, each sitting right around 12%. This whole setup is strategically designed to maximize your take-home cash while keeping everything compliant with local labor laws.
Section 2. The 2025 tax shakeup, the FBR reality. But hey, before you get to spend any of that cash, the government definitely takes its cut. Let's look at how the Finance Act of 2025 completely reshapes the deductions taken before you ever see a single rupee. The new FBR slabs directly target different income brackets for the 2025 to 2026 fiscal year. Based on the Income Tax Ordinance, these strict thresholds scale marginal rates up from just 1% all the way to 35%. Plus, there are fixed tax amounts that jump pretty significantly the moment you cross from one tier into the next.
The really crucial point here is the extreme contrast in this new landscape. On one hand, we're seeing immense relief for the lower middle tier. We're talking an 80% tax cut for folks earning between 600,000 and 1.2 million rupees, dropping their rate from 5% all the way down to just 1%. But contrast that with a brand new 9% surcharge strictly targeting high earners. If you're pulling in over 10 million rupees annually, like the managing director or C-suite grades in our proxy data, this new surcharge hits your total computed tax incredibly hard. It is a massive shift in how corporate wealth is taxed.
Section 3. Decoding the hidden paycheck. Statutory and non-statutory costs. Moving deeper down the iceberg, we hit the alphabet soup of Pakistani HR. These are the mandatory benefits that quietly inflate your true cost to the company, even if they never show up on your payday radar.
First up are EOBI and provincial Social Security, like SSI in Sindh or PESI in Punjab. These hidden monthly contributions are legally mandated safety nets. Now, what's fascinating is that these aren't just random, arbitrary numbers. For the 2025 to 2026 fiscal year, employers are paying 2,000 rupees for EOBI and 2,400 for SSI per employee. That is directly tied to the newly revised minimum wage of 40,000 rupees, meaning employers contribute 5% for EOBI and about 6% for provincial security.
Then there's gratuity. This is often completely ignored by employees until the exact day they resign, but it acts as a massive shadow savings account funded entirely by the employer. Under the Standing Orders Ordinance of 1968, the company literally has to accrue 1 month of your last drawn gross salary for every single year you complete. So if you stay at a company for 10 years, that's a huge liability they've been quietly funding in the background the entire time.
Let's tally this up. When we stack the 8.3% gratuity funding, a typical 4.6% Provident Fund employer match, comprehensive medical and hospitalization capped around 120,000 rupees, and the encashable value of 16 days plus annual leaves, which is about 12.6%, the math gets heavy fast.
it becomes crystal clear exactly how we arrive at that massive 43% employer loading cost we mentioned earlier.
Section 4. Unlocking bonuses and equity. Variable pay. Let's pivot from guaranteed pay over to variable pay. This is where things get super competitive because your personal earnings are suddenly directly tied to the company's financial success.
You know, you don't just get a bonus simply because you did a good job. To even trigger the annual bonus pool, the company must sequentially pass some incredibly strict financial gates. In our proxy model, they look at revenue against the budget, where they achieved 97%. Then, EBITDA margin against the target, hitting 93%. And finally, earnings per share growth versus the prior year, crushing it at 105%. If the company as a whole only hits 93% of its overall gate, the total bonus funding pool shrinks to 93% before a single employee is even evaluated.
And once that company pool is actually funded, your personal payout is dictated by a downright ruthless bell curve. If you're in the top 5% of performers rated outstanding, you get a 2.0 multiplier. You literally double your target bonus. But 50% of the company will fall into the meets expectations bucket, receiving just a standard 1.0 multiplier. It's a zero-sum game designed specifically to reward only the absolute top talent.
For the top executives, true long-term wealth is built through employee stock option plans, or ESOPs. Using our Engro proxy, with a share price hovering around 490 rupees on the PSX and an expected 12% annual appreciation, these equity grants are incredibly lucrative. But they come with golden handcuffs, namely a standard 3-year vesting schedule with a 1-year cliff. This perfectly aligns executive retention with the long-term stock market performance of the company. If you leave early, you literally leave millions on the table. Oh, and don't forget the 15% capital gains tax if you cash out in less than a year.
Section 5. The Market Reality Check. Benchmarking against P50. Finally, we have to ask the ultimate question. How does all this complex math actually stack up against competitors hiring out there in the real world?
Well, here is the brutal reality check pulled from major salary surveys like Korn Ferry and Mercer. When we look at the internal median pay versus the market P50, which just means the median market rate, it's eye-opening. Despite all those allowances and bonuses we just broke down, almost every single role in our proxy data is currently lagging severely behind the market. The CEO is lagging by 3.6 million rupees. The CFO is behind by 2.9 million. Even mid-level managers are trailing the median by over 500,000 rupees.
So why is this gap so massively wide? It's all about inflation, which is currently hovering between 20 to 25% in Pakistan. The market is moving incredibly fast right now. HR teams are absolutely scrambling, pushing through vital 15% annual merit increases across the board, and they're doing this just to stop their top talent from walking out the door to a competitor willing to pay that new market premium.
So, next time you log into your portal to check your payslip, remember that you're only seeing the very tip of the iceberg. You've got to factor in that 43% employer loading, the shifting FBR tax brackets, and your total variable pay potential. The real question you need to ask yourself is this: what is the true weight of your total rewards, and is it actually keeping pace with the market today? Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it helps you navigate your own compensation conversations with a bit more clarity.